What would you do if you suddenly received over $350,000, but your sister suddenly needs it for an extensive and important operation? Would you give it up? My name is Rick from Semi Stories, and today we're looking at a conundrum OP faces where he wonders if he is an a-hole for refusing to give his sister all his money and thus a painless future. I, a 17-year-old male, am the oldest kid in my family. My parents have two biological kids, me and my 12-year-old sister, and they adopted my 4 other siblings. I also had a dozen of foster siblings over the years. My parents have struggled to make time and have the money for all of us. It has meant a lot of sacrificing and mostly on my part. My parents were able to make sure all my younger siblings had at least one activity outside of school to do, but they never did that for me. I was forced to play football when I was 5, but by the time I was 7, my parents had started fostering and I was no longer doing that. My siblings all get to do something they like. Cora does dance, for example. Some of my other siblings are in music classes. The younger kids were also prioritized with school field trips, so they would always go while I haven't since I was 6. The last time I asked was when I was about 9, and my parents told me to work for the money to pay. My grandparents found out what they said and gave me the money, and my parents took it off me to use for the household. My grandparents were so mad at them for that. They even delayed my tonsil surgery by 2 years because they prioritized 2 foster kids and 2 of my siblings' surgeries over mine. It's always a tragedy when it involves kids. OP goes on to state that his childhood was pretty much hell after all of this. Never did he receive love like his siblings would, and he would be forced to work every day just to have enough money to buy decent clothes for himself. And then his parents would often even take this earned money to use on the other kids for their sports and other activities. It is crazy. He truly believed there was nothing that could be done, and he felt stuck in this worthless situation for the rest of his life. But then his grandparents did the unthinkable for him. But before we get into all of that, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel for all things Reddit. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below with your judgment. Do you think OP is the a-hole for what he does next? Let's find out. My grandparents saw how much I was getting the short end of everything with my parents, and they set up a college fund for me. It's a lot of money, and it really caught me off guard when they told me. My parents know about it, but cannot access it. They only know because of a fight with my grandparents over the lack of saving for my future when they have saved something for my siblings. My parents said that the money my grandparents saved should be divided equally, because $350,000 is a lot to save for one grandchild when you have multiple. Now, that money is still there, and I have plans for it, but my youngest sister is 5, and she needs a pretty major stomach surgery. She's had a lot of health trouble since her birth, and my parents have paid a lot of money on her medical expenses. They were told this surgery could turn her life around and give her a chance at living with less pain and stomach complications. It could give her a more normal childhood, because currently she can't do a lot. They currently don't have the money for the surgery, and they want me to give them the money to pay for it and for the expenses afterwards. They then said that they needed $270,000 for the whole thing, and maybe they can give some of it back, but they might need even more if stuff gets more complicated. I pretty much told them they can't have that money, and that's when they completely lost it. And they told me that I was being selfish and leaving my poor sister in excruciating pain every day. I then argued back that they take from me all the time. I asked why they didn't just take the money that they saved for all my siblings and use that, and why it has to be the one thing that's promised to be mine. They said that I'm putting college before my sister's future and accused me of being unwilling because she is my sister through adoption and not my biological sister. All I want is to go study and have a shot at a decent future. Is that too much to ask? I definitely don't think it's too much to ask. Terrible parents to treat their own flesh and blood like this. I think they shouldn't get a say in anything Opie wants to do with his money. It's just a shame that it comes at the cost of this little girl. Luckily, this is a stance that was shared by most of the people in the comments that say that OP is not the a-hole. Here are a few comments to highlight. One commenter asked OP if he can't just move in with his grandparents, which he then commented that he had never really thought about it. Another wonders if the parents are even being truthful about the amounts listed and whether it's just an elaborate cash grab. This even got OP to think that it probably isn't right. And lastly, one of the commenters was curious if OP is the only victim of his parents' behavior in the family, to which OP revealed that all his siblings get to keep their money and get given things. OP is the only one being brutally neglected. A truly sad situation overall, but at least we can say with certainty that OP is surely not the a-hole. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll be back in the next week's video. See ya!